Wait, what about weird?
Hey everyone, I just wanted to give a heads up that this episode includes talks about a city that was flooded and sank into the sea hundreds of years ago. We recorded this episode before the recent floods took place, and even though we joke during our episodes, floods are a serious matter and have affected many people lately, including those in the state we currently live in. Before you listen to the episode, I wanted to list some resources for anyone who has been affected by these floods. If there is an American Red Cross in your state, they provide disaster relief programs for those affected by floods or by wildfires. If you navigate to redcross.org and go to their disaster relief site, they list resources to help victims of the Texas floods and New Mexico floods. Even if your state isn't listed, as long as you have a Red Cross in your area, you can contact one of their shelters for help. The Salvation Army is also a good resource for anyone affected. The Salvation Army works with local, state, and federal government to provide disaster relief and recovery efforts for flood victims, hurricane and tornado victims, and wildfire victims. They work with Habitat for Humanity to provide safe housing, they offer employment resources for those who have lost their jobs, and they also provide spiritual and wellness programs. If you want to reach out for help, they have a Find Help link on their website. There are also many other organizations out there to help. If a river has flooded, the foundation of that river will often offer resources for those in the area. Many food banks offer multiple convenient locations. Water companies such as Simple Water Solutions in Texas are setting up tents to provide clean drinking water. If you need help contacting people using phones, need access to a computer, free Wi-Fi, or need to charge your device, T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T typically offer many free services during disasters. If you need mental health support, BetterHelp is offering 3 months of free online therapy for flood victims. If you need non-emergency medical care, Teladoc is offering free medical care via their online platform and in many cases can also refill your prescriptions. But make sure you are calling their hotline for the free services so you are not charged. If you are someone fortunate enough to not have been affected and have the means to help, please volunteer, donate supplies, or donate money to organizations who are providing free disaster relief. If you are in North Carolina with us, some good organizations that are offering resources to people after Tropical Storm Chantal are NC Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster, Triangle Mutual Aid, Day One Relief, and the Saxpahaw Forward. Please help where you can. I will list links in the description of the episode with the resources I've described, plus many more. Do not hesitate to get help if you need it, and thank you for listening. Stay safe out there. Hi, I'm Echo.
And I'm Elena.
And this is our podcast, What About Weird? A podcast discussing all things weird, from cryptids and aliens to strange science in unhinged history.
Why did you put a space between unhinged? It's so unhinged that you put a space in there. Unhinged. I'm just here to make fun of you. That's all.
Sounded normal to me, but okay.
It was almost normal, but you put just the littlest bit of space.
I had to like take a breath in between there. I'm like, unhinged.
Unhinged! So, what unhinged thing are we talking about today?
So,
or is it not unhinged? Is it very, very hinged?
Oh, there's no hinges.
Oh, it's so far unhinged they don't know what hinges are?
They got blown away. You're gonna see later.
They got blown away? What is this, the molasses flood? Is that what we're talking about?
No. Most people have heard of Atlantis, a lost city under the sea, but few are aware of what is known as the Atlantis of the North Sea. A city called Rungholt, off the coast of what is now modern Germany, was a town in North Frisia said to have wealth and prosperity. The city was once a town of trade that profited off its many natural resources, but it disappeared in an instant nearly 661 years ago.
So how do you know they don't have hinges?
Well, they could, we just don't have them anymore. Also, I'm pretty dang sure those hinges would have to be pretty strong based on what actually happened to this town.
Oh, is this the one that like they found underwater years later? Am I thinking about the... I know there's one in Japan that was a similar case.
This one is like, it's shrouded in a lot of legend, the same as Atlantis is, to the point where people were like, does this place actually exist? So according to legends, the townspeople succumbed to divine punishment for their sinful ways. One of the most popular stories...
They ate pork.
That's really funny that you mentioned that. One of their most popular stories is as follows. A priest stands alone in his church, thinking about the state of the world and his town. It seems every day more and more people are straying from God and indulging in a sinful lifestyle. Suddenly, a group of drunken men burst into the church, frantic and yelling as they drag in what seems to be a hurt man. The man, wrapped in dark robes, grunts and squeals as if he is in pain. "Sir, please give this man his last sacrament. He's going to die and we want him to go to heaven," the men plead with the priest. As the priest approaches to give his last rites, asking the man to confess his final sins so he may be forgiven, the dying man only continues to grunt. The priest pulls back the fabric surrounding the man's face, only to be taken aback. The man the group has dragged in wasn't a man at all, but instead a grunting, squealing, dirty pig. The drunken men burst out in laughter. "Don't you know it must be a sin to give last rites to a pig?" The priest is shocked and angry. More and more pranks like this have been occurring, people mocking God and his religion. In a fit of anger, the priest prays for the downfall of all the unholy on this land. He prays for God to wipe them all away and cleanse the earth of the unholy. Shortly after, his prayers are answered. The ocean swells, and in one fell swoop, the entire city is swallowed by the sea, never to be seen again. Although this town is accompanied by such legends, unlike Atlantis, we know it was at least real.
This makes me think of... Sorry, are you in the middle of something?
No, go for it.
Okay. This makes me think of a slightly different version of... I can't remember the name of the town, but there's a town in Louisiana where there's a similar story of this sort of root doctor lady that was like helping the town and stuff, and then people started at one point turned it to mocking her and stuff.
Oh.
And before she died, she's like, "I'm gonna take the whole town with me." And then the night she died, they got hit with a super bad hurricane.
Oh shit!
And it's super surrounded in legend, and then, but it was an actual thing that happened.
Interesting. I haven't heard about that one. When you look back on maps from the 1300s, you can actually clearly see on a map where Rungholt is located. So this made a lot of researchers wonder what then happened to this lost city. We actually didn't learn the truth until 2023, when new technology allowed us to uncover the lost city.
What technology allowed us to uncover it?
I'll talk about it a little bit later on, specifically what kind of mapping technology allowed them to...
Like LiDAR type? Or like radar?
Yeah, it's sort of like magnetic imaging that they use underwater.
So fish?
I don't think fish can use magnetic imaging.
Don't fish have magnets in their... I'm not a fish biologist, but haven't you heard that like some fish have magnets in their head to direct them back to the exact same river that they spawned in?
I guess I kind of heard something similar to that, but I didn't know it was magnets.
It might be something else. I might be totally bullshitting that. I'm not a marine biologist.
No, I have no idea about the fish thing.
I don't know. All I know is fish go flop.
Okay. A team of researchers funded by the German Research Foundation used a combination of archaeological methods and geoscience to give us a clearer picture of where the town is located and what it might have looked like or contained. Using a magnetic survey, the team...
I'm going to take a guess and say that it contained a village and a house. Maybe multiple houses and a few people.
I don't think they found
have
people.
a degree. Well, it used to contain people.
It used to. Definitely not anymore.
How do you know? Could be skeletons down there.
There could be. Using a magnetic survey, the team was able to locate structures buried beneath the sea, showing medieval settlements, drainage systems, 2 small churches, and 1 much larger church central to the town. Now that Rungholt has been located and we've mapped out some of its key features to confirm its existence, what do we think buried the entire town so far under the sea? Researchers claim that the settlement was a natural landscape of peat bogs and fenland.
Oh, so it burned down, it sunk into the swamp, and then it fell over, burned down, and sunk into the swamp again. What was that thing from Monty Python? Something like that? It burned down and it sank into the swamp.
So it was essentially uninhabitable. But they found...
Really? It's under the water. I never would have guessed.
Well, now it is. But at the time... So it was a settlement of natural landscape of peat bogs and fenland, which was completely uninhabitable. But of course, they found a way to colonize it anyway, as white people do. Okay, so in English, fen refers to low-lying, marshy land characterized by wet, often peaty soil and specific vegetation like reeds and sedges. So just fucking swamp and wetland and peat bog and basically stuff that you really can't live on. But, of course, white people are like, we could live on that.
I know some people that could be described as a fen.
Just, you're
unhospitable and mushy.
Gonna use that as an insult from now on. So once the peat was removed and the water was displaced, it created a very rich soil for agriculture, which led to the town being very profitable. However...
Until it wasn't.
However, agriculture on this land was not sustainable. The townspeople had built large sheet-like bodies of rock they used to fill in cracks in existing rock structures, but this was not enough to keep the town away from rising sea levels and an increasing number of storms. A massive event known as Groot Men Drinke, or the Drowning of Men, was a storm larger than they had ever seen. It swept across Ireland, Britain, the Low Countries, and northern Germany.
The Low Countries? I've heard that term before, but what is the Low Countries? That's so vague.
Right now, the Low Countries generally refers to, in Western Europe, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg.
Okay, so that would be the places not in the mountains, right?
Yeah.
I don't know the geology of Europe.
Germany is, pretty close to the shore, but, even closer to the ocean is, the Netherlands, Belgium, and then there's,
So
France.
It's just the Chile of Europe.
Yeah, kind of.
Where it's just on the coast there.
Yeah, and then it's, France and
those other places we don't care about.
But, yeah, essentially, those countries are, kind of right on the shore there. This storm killed at least 2,500 people in 1362. So that's why they ended up calling it the Drowning of Men, because that's a lot of people.
Drowned?
That's a lot of people to drown at this time. The population was not that big in 1362.
When was the Black Death? But I know a whole bunch of climate stuff affected the Black Death.
No, it was about the same time, because this happened in 1362. The Black Death was from 1346 to 1353. So, in general, a really fucking bad time. But it had a second wave in the 1500s, which was, a really bad bit of it.
Yeah, I remember hearing something about how there's this whole era in, the 1300s, of just that entire decade was just the worst.
Yeah.
Because it's war after war after war and sickness and, I think the Little Ice Age was also around this time.
Hey, I'm literally going to talk about that.
Oh, wow.
This is what caused the Groot Men Drinke, was the Little Ice Age, is because, so by 1360, the region was undergoing what was known as the Little Ice Age, where the area was colder and more prone to cyclone floods. So although legend might tell you the moral of Rungholt's story is to follow God and turn away from sin, scientists will tell you the real lesson is to be wary of our land use in coastal regions, especially during times of climate change.
Stop running those gosh darn cars in 1352 or whatever this was.
Yeah. And so basically they had, over-farmed this land. They hadn't built the correct infrastructure. They lived in a completely uninhabitable place that was prone to this kind of stuff happening anyway. And so geologists are kind of yeah, maybe not a great place to do all that stuff in.
Maybe the place that's considered unhospitable and a terrible place to live is unhospitable and a terrible place to live. I know that's a radical concept, but just maybe.
Scientists are basically saying, be wary of our land use in coastal regions, our agricultural emissions, especially during times of climate change, which we are experiencing now. So just like in the 1360s, today's climate change is leading to rising sea levels, increase in flood risk, and a higher number of intense storms. In addition, rising atmospheric concentrations of carbon dioxide are causing the oceans to absorb more of the gas and becoming more acidic.
I just want to say I think Florida's next.
Probably. The rising acidity can have significant impacts on coastal and marine ecosystems, which are key for the economy of towns within the coastal regions.
Like Florida.
Approximately 25 million people today live in coastal regions prone to flooding.
I'm not going to say it.
Setting us up for an even bigger disaster than the Grootman-Drakey. Living in North Carolina, we are included in this number.
Are we far enough away from the coast?
If something like this were to happen, probably not.
Because I remember seeing something, like, when I was a kid of, like, oh, everything's going to flood and Florida's going to be underwater and blah, blah, blah. And I remember seeing, like, a map of, like, we're going to be on the coast if that happens.
Well, I mean, look how far away parts of, like, fucking, like, Kentucky and Tennessee were, but then the hurricane still, like, devastated them when it came through. So, like, the level of the Grootman-Drakey was probably similar to that of, like, a really crazy hurricane that would come through the region. It might not hit us in the right circumstances, but if it was, like, big enough and powerful enough and came enough inland...
Yeah, because we got hit by Sandy pretty hard.
Because, I mean, like, flooding still happens here.
Yeah.
And this is, like, basically a great flood that killed thousands of people. And if it were to happen today, it would probably kill millions of people. We could definitely be included in that because we're still a flood risk being in a semi-coastal region.
I guess, yeah. You're like, I gotta go back to the most landlocked state. Colorado, here I come.
So... what can we do right now to help to kind of possibly prevent some of this shit from happening?
Sacrifice Florida to the ocean gods.
Addressing these issues of climate change may require new approaches to managing land, water, waste, and ecosystems. Supporting your local estuary is a really good way to kind of, make more natural landscapes that are better at dealing with floods and storms, and also kind of returning things back to their natural state is going to help a lot with our rapidly changing climate and ecosystem. The Environmental Protection Agency's National Estuaries Program is a non-regulatory program that improves the waters, habitats, and living resources of 28 estuaries across the country. I know we have at least one in North Carolina that has done a lot. Each NEP develops and implements a long-term plan referred to as a comprehensive conservation and management plan based on local priorities that help guide their efforts. They have restored or protected over 2.5 million acres since the year 2000. And by preserving natural landscapes, we are enabling vital carbon sinks that absorb greenhouse gases. We also limit the flood risk of a region. And as an individual, you can support their efforts by reducing pollution, conserving water, boating responsibly. So when you go boating, don't just like fucking dump gas into wherever you're boating.
And don't run over some of those very important plants with your boat that can help destroy the ecosystem.
Yeah. Fishing responsibly is a big one. Using less fertilizer and pesticides. And if you're going to use fertilizer, make sure you use it when it's not going to rain and just like flow into the water, because that's a super huge issue.
There is a huge issue in North Carolina with hog farms getting flooded, and then all of the stuff from the hog bogs getting pushed out into the water, and that's a serious issue.
Yeah.
If you would like to, are you going to talk about ways to help out? Because I know some.
Go talk about it.
So outside of just those things, organizations like the Nature Conservancy is really great to donate to. If you find a local branch, you can usually donate and help stuff in your area, in your state. If you just go online, it'll just go wherever. It'll still go to good stuff, but if you donate locally, they'll help you pick a good place. If you live in somewhere like North Carolina, reach out to like the Fish and Game or the NC Wildlife Foundation and talk to them about how you can help. Mm-hmm. And also, get fishing licenses, because the money from that helps for nature conservation. At least in North Carolina, that's how like they do their job and they help conserve stuff, is by getting a fishing license. Even if you don't fish that much, stuff you can donate to them, but also like doing something like that will help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can also volunteer for cleanups at a lot of estuaries or just conservation efforts in general. If you don't have an estuary in your state or whatever, there are tons of conservation programs out there helping out your various state parks and really just becoming like a citizen scientist and learning about this stuff.
Talk to park rangers.
Yeah.
They're happy to talk to you. They're always so happy to talk to you. If you want to ask them how you can help or want to ask about anything, talk to park rangers. I have never met a park ranger who will not answer my questions or who will not tell me how to help or give me information for stuff.
Yeah, the more you know, the more you can understand how we're affecting our environment as individuals and, you know, as large masses of people, and what you can do to help. So the key here is go out and explore responsibly, because the last thing we need is more disasters like what happened to the city of Rungholt. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting because it wasn't a discovery that we had until very recently. I mean, just 2 years ago, we discovered this lost city. So, and it just like, it gives hope for the future of like finding historical sites that are now lost to the sea.
I think it's so interesting how much stuff we found in oceans recently. Mm-hmm. Like in Japan, that they found that used to be super mythic that they came across. Mm-hmm. Or Lake Lanier, they can like search all the stuff in there now and
see all like the
finding underwater caves
mm-hmm.
and, you know, shipwrecks and stuff.
Right.
Underwater archaeology is fascinating to me.
Absolutely. And especially now with this new technology where they can basically map out where entire buildings and man-made structures are under the sea. It's so cool. It makes me want to see if I could scuba dive down there and go look at the old buildings and stuff. Especially
that would be cool.
Like the old churches. I bet they're so cool.
That would be so cool. Because have you ever seen pictures of I wish I could remember what the name of it is. The sunken town in Japan. It's so eerie looking. Or I know you can look up pictures of Lake Lanier, like the gravestones in the buildings under the water.
The sunken village of Hibara?
That sounds correct.
There's also, it says, below the waves off the coast of Japan's islands, there's a series of curious pyramid-like formations off the coast. So that's fucking crazy.
Well, that's something else.
Yeah, something's bringing up the Yonaguni Monument. I don't know if I said that right. I'm so sorry if I didn't.
Yeah, that's all I'm seeing.
The submarine ruins is a submerged rock formation off the coast.
But yeah, I was having trouble pulling it up, but you can find some really cool pictures if you look up Lake Lanier. There's some
interesting. I love sunken cities because I do legitimately like. I want Atlantis to be real so bad, but this was like kind of similar because Rungholt was a really rich, prosperous place, so it's got all like this legend and like mythic status because people were constantly thinking like, if we find this, are we gonna find piles of gold beneath the sea? Or are we gonna find untold riches because this was a really wealthy trades town 600 years ago?
Yeah, so there's the possibility of treasure.
I know. I love treasure hunts. I want to find treasure so bad.
Me too. All I've found is bullet casings and bones. Oh. Animal bones, not human bones. Animal bones.
Less ominous.
And empty bottles.
Well, that's all I had for you today. Pretty short episode because after Jonestown, I needed a little bit of a break.
Oh no, that is totally fair.
All right, you want to close this out?
Sure. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, please rate the podcast and share it with the weird people in your life. Follow us on Instagram at whataboutweird.pod, where we often share pictures related to the episode. We're also now on Blue Sky as What About Weird Pod. I often post unhinged shit there and stuff relating to the episodes. If you have any topic suggestions or personal weird stories, please DM us or email us at whataboutweirdpod@gmail.com. And always remember
to ask about the weird.
Bye for now!